All right, folks, we've been looking at all of these different elections. How did votes break down? And one of the places where I immediately jumped out when we saw what happened with Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes in his race for the United States Senate against Senator Ron Johnson. The first thing I said was, how did Milwaukee do? Well, John D. Johnson, a research fellow at the Marquette Law School Lubar Center, reported that one of Wisconsin's most prominent Democratic strangleholds, there was a big drop from 2018 to this year. Pull the graphic up, please. Folks, $144 million was spent on advertising in Wisconsin's general election. But what happened here? Now, this is what it says. Go back to the previous graph. Okay? So here's what we see. Above average statewide turnout for a midterm, okay? I say 58%. Second highest, 2018. All right? So above average. Got it. Young voters, big increase, a 350% increase. Nearly 80,000 new voters between the ages of 18 and 34. And you see the other numbers. That's from Wisconsin PBS. But you go to Milwaukee County, and the turnout was down 11%. Let's go to the city of Milwaukee. Turnout was down 11% there. You see the graphic here. In 2018, 216,545 people voted in the city of Milwaukee. Again, 216,545. This year, 176,726. That's a difference of 39,819 votes. Okay, that's a significant number. Now let's talk about here the different wards there in Milwaukee that is called the Black Whitefish Bay Black Political Power Corridor. Okay. All right, you'll see right here, Ward 55. All right, let's pull that graphic up, folks. Ward 55, you see a 19% drop. Ward 56, a 12% drop. Ward 57, a 16% drop. Okay, quite interesting. Joining us right now is someone who knows these numbers well. He was on the ground there. Dr. Robert Biko Baker, a visiting assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin. Biko, glad to have you on the show. I was talking with Alicia Garza. She was telling me the work that they were doing on the ground, the Black Census Project and others. And so, real easy. What the hell happened? I mean, you would think a black lieutenant governor is running for United States Senate, significant black population in Milwaukee, and that huge drop off. You were there. What happened?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on, Brother Martin. It's a privilege and an honor, and my social media was going wild today, thanks to you. So thank you very much. You know, I love Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. I may have been the first person ever to max out to him when he was a state rep. But in September, many of us throughout the city started being the miner's canary when we highlighted that he did not have a black strategy. And most specifically in Milwaukee, he did not have a black woman strategy. And in a place where you have so much density with black voters, it was sort of eye-opening, to be honest.
And you see the numbers. Hold on, that's not. You just said, hold it. You said Barnes did not have a black voter strategy and not a black female voter strategy?
Well, I have a lot of stories, so we can go into the numbers or anecdotals. And you know, black folks, we don't never like to do inside baseball or air dirty laundry. But for the public record, he ducked and sort of dived, at least according to my friends, Michelle Bryant, who runs a black radio show, and he waited until the last moment to go on there. And, you know, according to her news feed, which is public record, you know, he wanted to go on there and have pre-scripted questions. And, you know, sisters, they want the real. And so in those Black Whitefish Bay wards, you saw a significant drop. And those are the wards where Milwaukee's black power brokers live.
Okay, so this is real basic for me. If you're a black candidate who's running, the first thing you do is lock down your base. You lock down black people. That's the first thing you do. That means that you lock down black radio, you lock down black newspapers, you lock down black digital. What that means is you make sure you're on the right shows. You make sure you're, now, I'll tell you this here, and I ain't got a problem saying it. He did my show one time. Right, Carol? Was it once? One time. We didn't get any information from the campaign. And they never offered any surrogates to come on and talk about his campaign as well. He had the advantage of other candidates dropping out of the Democratic primary. So it's not like he had to go hard in a primary and then have to flip around and do a whole general election. And what's strange to me is if you and others are there, common sense says y'all would have been in connection with someone from the campaign whose sole job was to make sure black folks turned out. There was no person?
Brother, you got me on the spot here, brother. And
no, we're not. The whole deal is like this, real simple. We're not there, and so I would think you would know who that person was to lock up to make sure we're talking to black people. And if ain't no name, that means there was nobody.
Brother, and I appreciate Alicia Garza. There was a lot of people outside the state that really supported Mandela, and I got to give Mandela props because he's a lot more courageous than me to run for Senate in a state that's 85% white and, parts of it are, definitely not pro-black. I give him a lot of courage, but, since September, people have been trying to, ring the alarm because you know how our people get down. We feel the movement, we feel the vibes. And Milwaukee people are smart. We don't give our vote away. We've been involved in recalls, all types of elections, and I feel like, unfortunately, in my opinion, Mandela put his mask on. Paul Lawrence Dunbar talks about the mask, and he put it on and he didn't take it off. Mandela is from the hood. He went to Marshall High School. He's a NPS graduate. His dad is a real life dude. I love talking to his dad. And so I know sometimes when we got our double consciousness hat on, we think that we sometimes have to portray a certain way. And I do believe that he may have gotten caught up with putting his mask on. And if you do the vote, and at $12, $15 a vote, if he'd have spent $1 million on black women, he'd have won, in my opinion.
Look, I reached out to some African-American Democratic operatives. I'm not going to read the text message I got from one because it was fire. And what was said to me was black consultants could barely get interviews on his campaign. And what you're describing and what I've heard from folks is that this is what happens when candidates, especially black candidates, hire white Democratic consultants to run their campaigns. And then what they do is they say, oh, you can't be too black. And to your point, they go so far and they blow off, and these white Democratic strategists assume, oh, we got them. So therefore, no need to spend money, no need to have an outreach. And the maths. There is no way to explain a black lieutenant governor running for U.S. Senate against a virulent racist like Ron Johnson, and you have that type of drop in Milwaukee. That means somebody wasn't taking care of home.
I'm gonna let you say that. Sir. But I know that we could have done it. And you saw that black folks showed up for Tony Evers, in some of the Browning suburbs, we see black people being oftentimes a swing vote in those areas. And so we got 2024 looming, and I encourage all candidates not to play their hand like Brother Mandela. We have to have a black agenda. It has to be explicit. You have to have people on your campaigns who understand the community that can't just parachute in. And so much is at stake here. So much is at stake. And unfortunately, I feel like if we don't talk honestly about what happened to Brother Mandela's campaign, we might lose some of the wisdom that's here for us to act on.
Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you this because it's interesting. Okay, how about this here? Again, typically when you have a lot of these black candidates running, whether it was Stacey Abrams, whether it was Raphael Warnock, Sherrod Beasley, you also had African-American entertainers or prominent figures around the country come in and campaign for them. Did you see any of that in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin for Barnes?
Well, me and my homies had, the multi-platinum artist Boosie come in and do a nonpartisan event. The last minute, he's so loved here. But, brother, there are so many
so that was it.
local
Boosie.
artists.
I know Boosie, but that was it? See, again, though, a campaign, if you got black folks on a campaign, you know how to make the phone call to say, hey, we need you to come in. We need you to, and it's just, again, it's mind-boggling to me. And I could just tell you, look, it was frustrating to me for Sherrod Beasley's campaign where I offered to come do my show and to come in and they never called. Tim Ryan in Ohio never came on my show, and I was texting him over 15 months. I told him, you should have an event at the Cincinnati Music Festival, the largest black event in the state. Never heard from him. He didn't even call Alicia Reese, who was a commissioner in Hamilton County, the largest vote getter in the county. Never called her. And so, my deal is, we're not having white candidates run. But a black candidate ain't got no excuse. None. But again, this is what happens when you listening, and I'm going to say it. You ain't got to say it, Biko. This is Roland Martin saying it. This is what happens when black candidates listen to white Democratic strategists, and what you're going to do is lose. Barnes could have been the 51st Senate. If Warnock wins, that's 52, and you cancel out Sinema and Manchin, you lose by 27,000 votes. I'm sorry. Smart person looks at the data and go, where were the 27,000 votes? Right there in Milwaukee. Because I got a feeling out of 40,000 votes, 27,000 ain't no way in hell they were going to be voting for Ron Johnson.
Come on now. And most of them are black women. I'm sure a lot of those consultants you talk to are black women. And me and my buddy were talking today, and he said Mandela was 10 handshakes away from winning. And, the thing is, I'm 45. I'm in between the millennials and Gen Zs and the elders. And one thing I would, really push all young candidates and leaders is to really shake your elders' hands, get in the front rooms, go to their hangouts. And when you do that, you not only win their trust, but you get the wisdom that's there. And that's difficult because, some of us are digital. I stay on my phone too much, but if we push through that, we have power. And that's why I really like your book. You're talking about the browning of America. That's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of our inherent political power. And if we stick together and work together, we can move mountains for sure, because we've done it before with less power.
That's absolutely crazy. And so, I'm sure he's kicking himself 27,000 votes. I mean, look, Beasley lost by 135,000 in North Carolina. And if you're the Democratic Senate Congressional Campaign Committee, you should be kicking yourself in the butt, too, because when you lose by 27,000 votes, that's a winnable race. That's winnable if, again, you hire and you listen to black people. It ain't that hard. Biko, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, giving us a sense of what happened in Milwaukee. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Go to my panel, Deanna, Matt, and Michael. Look, this ain't hard. Again, if you a black candidate and you didn't do that, shame on you.
I mean, we saw this same thing in 2020, right? Where we have candidates make these same mistakes of assuming that simply because they're black, they're going to get the black vote, right? And I think nothing could be further from the truth. You have to work for the Black vote, right? People need to see beyond the identity politics of you being Black, because time and time again, we've seen that not all skin folk are kinfolk, right? So not everybody that is Black like you is going to be able to advocate or be for the same issues that you are for. So folks are tired of it. And I think, just like you said, why are folks listening to white consultants who have absolutely nothing to do with how the Black community mobilizes, right? And I think something that repetitively shows up is the assumption that they have to work less simply because they're Black. And it's lazy to make that assumption that because they're Black, they're going to get those Black votes. In fact, I think folks need to start to realize that if you could get the Black vote, then it could be easier for you to get the rest of the communities that you want to get. Because I think the hardest vote for you to get is the Black vote, simply because we've been screwed over time and time again, simply by listening to folks who say that they are for us simply because they look like us. And I think one of the other problems too, and we saw it in our mayor's race too here in LA, where leaders from Black Lives Matter LA called out a candidate that had historically been for the progressive cause and called them out for not having a lot of Black folks surrounding them and hiring the whitest individuals that they could find simply because they figured that's where their support would need to come from, instead of relying upon the communities that have historically had their back. And so if you go by that strategy, you will absolutely win. Don't assume because you're Black, you're going to automatically get the endorsements of the Black community, because believe it or not, folks like to feel like we're monolithic. We're not. We have our own minds, our own thoughts, right? And if a candidate ain't it, it ain't it. And we saw that once again in 2020, and we're going to continue to see it. Now, I think another problem that I saw, you put up the graphic of the numbers, right? $67 million spent for advertisements. That's a huge amount of money. Now, the problem with that, I understand that money has to be spent in order to win a political campaign, especially a political campaign against someone like Ron Johnson. I get that. However, now when a traditional average person is looking at that number and they don't see the trickle down effect from the party, they don't see folks who are on the ground regularly coming from the Democratic National Committee, who are doing the work on an everyday basis outside of these election times, and you see $67 million is being spent, then how would you not be angry? So that's my opinion. I think, yes, it has to do with who these candidates are surrounding themselves with. It absolutely has to do with Black candidates continually making the assumption that Black folks are going to vote for them simply because they too are Black. But it also has to do with folks not liking these numbers. There's a lot of things being clouded in these advertisements. People simply do not want to see advertisements, but then they don't see anyone knocking on their door. They don't see a trickle down as far as the resources that they have access to on the ground. If $67 million is being spent and folks aren't feeling like they have the basic resources and necessities that it takes for them to be who they are and to provide for their families, then you're going to have a problem, and you're absolutely going to have a disconnect when it comes time for who shows up at the polls as well.
Here's what I am utterly confused by, and I don't get it. I look all these people talking about, man, you trying to get a job at the White House. I ain't never wanted to work on a campaign. I ain't never wanted to work for no politician. But this is real basic for me, Matt. This is real basic. How the hell do you hire people to be campaign managers who ain't from the state? I mean, okay, I'm from Texas. If my ass was running statewide in Texas, I might want to hire somebody who knows Texas. Why would I hire somebody who ain't from here, who don't know the joint, to run the campaign? That's so confusing to me. And so and the other thing is this here, and I got to say this here. If I'm the candidate, and again, I understand candidates got different roles, but I'm running my shit. I'ma know if Black media ain't getting no money. I'ma be asking the question, yo, where we at in Milwaukee? Okay, now let me just use Texas, okay? First thing, I'm from Houston. If I'm running statewide, the first thing I'm gonna say is, I was born and raised in Clinton Park. So we gonna lock down Clinton Park. I went to Pleasantville Elementary and William Holland Middle School that's in Pleasantville. We're going to lock down Pleasantville. So we're going to lock down that whole side of Houston I'm from. I went to Jack Yates High School in 3rd Ward. We're going to lock down 3rd Ward. TSU is across the street. U of H is across the street. We locking down 3rd Ward. Then we're going to build from there. What I'm not going to do is run my ass to West Texas or East Texas first and not lock down home.
Yep.
Am I the crazy one?
No, you're not going to hire somebody from Lubbock to help you get elected when it comes to Houston. I'm with you completely. And beyond that, what I don't understand at all, I looked it up while you were talking to Brother Biko, is Wisconsin is 42% white, but it's 38% black in the city of Milwaukee, from my understanding. So how do you not have a strategy, not only for black women, which we know have been those who have come through for us, the heroes of recent elections and elections for a long time, but how do you not have a black strategy when you're vying for that large a percentage of the vote? And I don't know if that's just a blind spot from his advisors or if that's just him straight up pandering to whiteness.
No, I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you,
makes no sense.
I'm telling you, Matt, Michael, you know this. These white strategists, they tell these black candidates, first of all, you can't wear certain things. You can't say certain things. We don't want you going certain places. Okay, so let's do this here. And so, no, we don't want to do that. They keep you away from doing all of that. And they assume, oh, we got them. We ain't got to pay them no mind. Show me a husband that don't pay his wife no mind. I'm going to show you a husband who ain't going to have a wife.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. Show me a candidate who ignore home. Show me somebody who gonna be at home after the election.
You know, Roland, when we did our election day coverage, and at the end, we gave closing statements, and I talked about the fact that we have to have an African American political infrastructure that we control, where we can finance our own campaigns. We can control our own campaigns. I was rooting for Mandela Barnes can you hear me?
Yeah, go. Keep going.
I heard somebody talking. I was rooting for Mandela Barnes. And about 6 weeks ago, he was ahead of Senator Ron Johnson. But what happened was they started dropping money on ads attacking Mandela Barnes on crime. Okay. And they should have anticipated this. I talked about this before. They should have anticipated this. This is the Willie Horton 2022. They should have already anticipated that and already had this messaging out to combat that. But the other thing is, you're absolutely correct. We cannot take the African American vote for granted. You have to have black consultants that give you that African American strategy, so you can explain to people how your policies are going to benefit them and why they should come out their house and vote, and show a contrast between you and your candidate. We can't just assume that they're going to come out and vote for you. So this brother lost, man. This brother lost by about 27,000 votes. And it'd be different if Ron Johnson was a decent guy, but he's not. He's a supremacist conspiracy theorist. And this who you lose to, man. We have to learn from this. We can't keep making mistakes like this over and over again.
All I'm saying is, I want to know who the hell was the campaign manager for Mandela Barnes. I want to know who was his media strategist. I want to know who was on the senior leadership team, because nobody should hire them again. Yeah, I said it. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
We are in sunny South Dallas. The election is coming up. It's super important that folks know who they are voting for, but more importantly, what they are voting for. Y'all, we got the free shirts and free lunch right over here.
Freedom is our birthright. No matter what we're up against, we're sending a message in Dallas and Texas and in this country. We won't back down. That's what this bus tour is all about.
The housing cost is one of the most capitalized areas that we have found. People who are marginalized, that are brown and black, we are suffering the most, and I think that we have the biggest vote and the biggest impact in this election.
I'm voting for affordable housing, for sure.
We should not be paying the cost of a utility failure because our elected officials are too proud to say, we need help.
I know that we can bring out our people to vote. It's a part of our birthright. Right. It's a part of our heritage, and surely it's a part of our present and part of our future.
That's right. That's what's up. And we won't black down. Forward that message to 5 friends, because in that message, it's got links to how to get registered, how to check your registration status.
Like I said, 2:30 we'll start rendezvousing right here on this street. I am voting to let our voice be heard in the rural communities that, hey, we are people too. There are things that we need.
Free shirts, free food, and lots of power.
We are in Longview, Texas, where Black Voters Matter, 365.
Whatever type of oppression a white supremacist throws our way, we will not black down. We are in relentless pursuit of liberation of our people.
Freedom is liberation for black bodies and black communities to make economic change through political power.
Freedom is choice.
We won't black down.
We won't black down.
We won't black down, y'all.
We won't black down.
We won't black down.
We won't black down.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?